Good morning from a beautiful sunny Ireland. We're having a look today at the BMW iX1. So I've had a diesel version of this car on the channel towards the end of last year. I finally got my hands on the electrified version of it. So I'm not going to give you a full interior tour because it's very, very similar. Even the boot is pretty decent. If you're comparing this car with the XC40 and the e-tron Q4, well, the boot is a little bit smaller than the Q4 and a little bit bigger than the XC40 at 490 litres. That's despite the storage for the cables, the battery, yada, yada, yada. So actually, let's just jump in. I'll go for a drive. I'll tell you about the car, the range, the performance, bits of the interior that I like, some bits that I'm not too sure about as we go for a drive here on I'll Be On Cars. If at some point in this video you stay watching and you want to subscribe and give us your support, that would be absolutely wonderful. So thank you for all the support on the channel. I couldn't do it without you. And let's jump in and have a look at the iX1 from BMW. Let's start with the good stuff. 64.7 kilowatt hour battery. That will give you a range of about 270 miles. Could touch on almost 400 kilometers. You might even do more. It just depends on so many things like temperature. 309 brake horsepower, because this is a dual motored X-Drive. So you're getting all that grip and all that power. And it's genuinely a brisk car. I asked on social media, can you have a sleeper when it comes to EVs? And this is kind of one of those cars. It is it's over 2 ton. If you're going into corners, you'll feel a bit of weight, but certainly straight line performance. This thing is damn quick, and off the lights, you know, will actually do a fantastic job. Give people zebra crossings and only use them. Anyway, I don't know what you got your sunglasses on for either. Hello. Back to the review. So yeah, straight line performance, like you just squeeze that throttle and it's properly quick, properly torquey. It's limited to 185 kilometers an hour, but I mean, what else do you really need when it comes to straight line performance? And if you're driving this thing on an autobahn or something, well, that range is going to be quickly zapped driving at those speeds, but it can do that type of performance. But yeah, like going up a very steep hill here, just squeeze that throttle and we are away. Now the steering is kind of dull for a BMW. It's precise and it's light, but you don't really have any major sense of where it's going. And yeah, you do feel the weight on a corner in particular, but you know, city driving, it's so smooth, it's so quiet. Although the tires this car is on, and it could be tire specific, I don't know, but there's a good bit of tire noise off it, and that's always more noticeable on EVs, but at motorway use, it's really like I'd call it intrusive into the cabin. So these are the bigger alloys. If you go for smaller ones, it may be reduced. Depending on tire brand, it may be reduced, but it's certainly something that caught my ears as soon as I was driving. I was like, oh, that's kind of noisy. Fastest charging speed it will do is 130 kilowatts, which by today's standard, it's quickly getting into what you could call, I don't want to say slow, and it's, you know, this car is not specific to it. That is kind of the average speed of the upper echelons of EVs, ID4, ID5. That's kind of the speeds they're doing. But then you've got things from Kia and Hyundai, and they're doing like 200 kilowatts. So 130, I'm going to say it's all right for the price of the car, which with about 5,000 euros worth of extras, this car is hovering at about 73,000 euro. Energy consumption, you're going to look at around, well, my average was about 19-20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which for 300 brake horsepower, I mean, you could genuinely have fun in this car. It is properly quick. There's nice levels of grip. As I go into a kind of a greasy, wet corner here, yes, there's the weight aspect, but certainly the grip aspect is perfect. I mean, my experience normally is if you have power in a car, you'll generally use it. You know, you can't always say, oh, well, you could get better. You definitely could. I'm sure you could. But it's just too much fun squeezing that throttle and being propelled in kind of like an SUV / people carrier that has 300 brake horsepower on tap, and that's the fun part of it, really. I did really like the diesel version of the X1. I just thought it was a nice car to drive, and reasonably decent interior. It's maybe not up to BMW i5 standards and other models in the range. There's no iDrive, for example. You just get this floating shelfy thing that actually the armrest opens in the direction of a left-hand drive vehicle, which is, come on, BMW, Lexus give you both sides. Could you not even do that for us? Like, Harman Kardon system on this car. These finishes on the door sills. Steering wheel is somewhere that they've given you a sense of BMWs and more expensive models, because the iX has the same steering wheel. Do love the curved screen. It's just over 10 inches on both your infotainment and your instruments. It's as busy as usual. You can set up departures if you don't want to charge to 100%. You just wanted to get sort of, let's say you're at 30 as I was last night and I didn't want to spend a fortune and just wanted to get to 50. You can tell the car how much charge you want to put into it. You can do timed departures and all that stuff. Two very generous cup holders, and there's even a kind of an arm that holds your device in as you're using the wireless charger to stop it falling around. And there is a good bit of space underneath this floating armrest, but the gap between the edge of it and the seat is quite narrow, so actually getting bigger items in, you can't. So there is lots of space once you're in there. It's just squeezing things in there is not that easy. Very comfortable seats, lovely bolsters on them. There's a nice kind of a quilted finish pattern in the back. Also, they are manual though, so, and you're sitting quite high. You can't drop this thing low to the floor like you can in a lot of BMWs. So you're kind of, I know that's the whole point of these kind of vehicles, to be sitting up, but you can still be sitting up and sort of at one with the floor, so to speak. And you can't do that in this car. It just about feels BMW enough. At the price, there are other things out there. Mentioned the Q4 e-tron. If you don't want to go as premium, there's also other cars in this space. Apart from the BMW i3, they really took their time getting their EVs ready and on the road, and like things like the i4 is proof that they can do BMW dynamics in an EV. This is kind of more aimed at your family unit, I suppose, and it is a little bit expensive. Decent enough boot in the back, although it's not mind-blowing. Like, I had a bike and a dog in it yesterday, and I had to turn the airbag off, put boosters in the front passenger, and drop one of the seats in the back to get the bike, and so it is a family car to a point, but don't think you're gonna get everything in without some level of moving things around. But then there's 300 brake horsepower, and it's just boom. So this is the third generation X1 now at this stage, which is kind of mad. First one that's obviously fully electric. I think it's as good as, if you were getting a GTX from VW, for example, for that level of performance. The interior in this is much better. I think the space of it is all right for what you get. Decent enough leg room in the back. It's tight enough in here, but I think you're getting that nice BMW finish inside. Reasonable-ish range. Certainly for if this is a car that you're considering that's going to do lots of driving around the kind of city centre setup with a little bit of motorway thrown in. It obviously has the 130 kilowatt capabilities. So certainly for a city EV, yes, absolutely. But then you might ask yourself, well, why would I need to spend nearly 70 grand on a city EV? You could buy a much smaller Honda E for early 30s. I don't know. There's lots to think about. It's a solid enough offering as an EV because you got that performance. Feels BMW enough. Have a go of it, I suppose. Put it down in your shortlist. Do consider the Q4. Do consider the XC40. I'll have the front wheel drive version of that car. That's going to be a bit cheaper. It's going to be on the channel very, very soon. So if you're interested in that, maybe hit subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next one.